Maybe that's better. I just wanted to come today to make a video about Stephon Clark, the man who was recently shot down by the Sacramento. So Stephon Clark is a young man who lived in Sacramento, California. The neighborhood or the police department, I guess, have been receiving calls that there were people in the area who were essentially breaking into cars, I believe. It says, on Sunday night, Sacramento police were responding to a call about a man breaking windows when they shot an unarmed father of two. The two officers believed Stephon Clark was holding a gun before firing 10 times each, leaving Clark dead. The encounter lasted roughly 6 seconds. Yeah, so I mean, I'm pretty sure that everybody knows the story by now. If you haven't, then and I can understand that, because we are living in a society where you kind of just gotta bury your head in the sand essentially sometimes, because we're living on a 24-hour news cycle, and it's kind of like I have to be able to breathe sometimes, because I feel like I'm just getting information constantly, and I'm getting like this PTSD that I don't want to have about Black people being gunned down by the police. So they did their due diligence, autopsy report, things like that. They were saying that he was still alive. He was alive for most of the shooting. Kind of like trying to iterate that he felt a lot of, like he wasn't instantaneous death. Again, each officer shot 10 times, like they were on some type of GTA Call of Duty type shit. So yeah, and he had a cell phone in his hand, and he was in his own backyard going to a place of refuge, whether he was breaking into cars or not, or to windows or not. It's just like you feel safe in your home, and essentially some people are coming back there to murder you. So that's what happened. So Muslims don't say rest in peace, because we don't believe essentially in that. But I hope that, inshallah, because it was found that he was a Muslim, and we pray for everyone, right? Muslims pray for everyone, but we definitely pray for our own. So inshallah, may Allah give him Jannah if that's what he deserves. Now, going to the Muslim community, I'm really fucking confused about you guys, right? So step before, there was no details on this young man, who he was, what religious sect or community that he came from. It was just, he's a young Black man in the society, gunned down. We've heard the story countless times before. All of a sudden, the details come out that this young man was a Muslim. And so on one of the days after the story came out, I saw briefly like somebody was like, we're going to be having like a janaza, or like going to the funeral. So all the Muslims in the community come out, please support our brother Stephon. So I briefly looked at that, and I was like, okay, that's okay. And I didn't know at that point that he was Muslim, so I was confused. I was like, wow, the Muslim community is really just like, okay, they're stepping up. I don't know his religious denomination. I don't know anything about this thing. I just know that he was gunned down. He's a Black man, and the Muslim community, as they should, be backing these types of stories, because we have there's a similitude between our tragedies and the Black communities. Me being a Black person, knowing the correlative like nature of each situation that happens in the Muslim community and the Black community. So it's good if we have that unification as people of color, non-Black POC, and Black people, and just like minorities in general. So when I saw that, I was like, wow, okay, Muslim community stepping up. The next couple, I guess, day or few days, it was found that the young man was Muslim. So at first I didn't think anything about it, but a friend came to me and was like, wow, the Muslim community really is pathetic, because now that we know that this young man is a Muslim, all of a sudden his life matters now. And we see this a lot of times with the Muslim community. They don't really come out for Black lives. They usually step up for Muslim issues and or Arab issues and or non-black POC issues, but never at the forefront of black issues. And that's my problem with the Muslim community, and I've been saying it in previous videos and the like. The Muslim community does not care about black people. Our issues aren't prevalent or evident or important until we have Islam attached to us. It shouldn't take for somebody being Muslim for you to have any type of sympathy or empathy for them. I really am not okay with the fact that Muslims only come step up for black people when, you know, when Islam is attached to the name. And that's really all I have to really say about it. I mean, we can sit here and talk about it for ages and ages, but the whole issue is that this young man, before we knew anything about him, we heard crickets. And with the Black Lives Matter the movement and Black lives in general, the Muslim community has been silent, and yet and still on the flip side of that, you know, we have people coming and showing out for Palestine, free Syria, etc., etc. We have those people. The thing about the black people is that all other communities expect us to always gravitate towards their situations and their plights, but for us, it's like even when we're Muslim, it's like we hear silence. And that's really unfortunate, because as a Muslim, it shouldn't. And then also, let me back up for a little bit, because there were some people were saying, so I have to talk to the black people in the Muslim community too, right? Black people have the game messed up, because when black people come inside of Islam, and I'm talking about African American people, a lot of the times they leave their cultural dynamic at the wayside, because essentially Islam teaches you that Islam supersedes any culture that you might have. And that's true. Like, Islam is supposed to be your dedicated culture that you stick to, the fundamentals that you go by. Like, that's what Islam is supposed to be. And so a lot of people, you know, Islam teaches that this is the prevalent dominant thing, and you can have your culture, but it doesn't supersede Islam. Cool. But the thing that I don't like about a lot of black people that they do is that they convert. You know, I'm not saying all black people are converts, because I'm not a convert, but black people convert into Islam, or they were born Muslim and they totally leave their cultures behind. African Americans, Caribbean Americans, or otherwise leave their cultures behind. I'm talking about, I won't say Africans, but I'll say like African Americans, Caribbean Americans, like leave their culture behind and totally entrench themselves into Islam, which you're supposed to do, but they forget their cultural values. They forget that they're black, and they assimilate into what they think is Islam, which really they're assimilating into Arab culture. Like, they'll wear kafayas, they'll wear the gujar, like the kafaya, they'll wear the thobe, they'll like put kool in their eyes, they'll like jump into niqab, like without knowing the context or whatever, like just thinking they'll like get a bunch of wives or whatever the fuck. And it's like, it all seems cool, it all seems like you're going hard in the paint, but you're essentially like leaving your cultural your values behind. Like, black people have culture, like, let's not get it twisted. And so when they do that, it kind of like, it makes me a little angry, because I'm like, bro, you're still black at the end of the day. And I've heard a lot of people saying about this young man, like, he's a kafir. Now, kafir in South Africa is like that, well, it's really kufar, but like it means something else. But in Islam, it's like non-Muslim or whatever. So this kufar, you know, we don't really care about him. I saw a lot of black people on Twitter saying that. Number one, you black, my nigga, and when you walk outside of your home, you're black. People don't readily see you as a Muslim, they see you as black. Like, that's the weird dichotomy from like black Muslims and like Arab and non-black POC. It's like when black people step out of the house, the Muslim women have this like ambiguity that they have when they wear hijab, because like hijab gives you like this racial ambiguity. You know, people think that you're from somewhere else when you're really not. But like the black men, you look black, you are black, that's what you are, that's what you look like when you walk outside of the house, whether you got a beard or not. So it's like, and I saw a lot of black men saying this, oh, he's just like a kuffar, no, who cares? And then you had like the rest of the Muslim community like, let's go, you know, let's go to his funeral, let's go do this, let's go do that. Y'all both are wrong. The black people are wrong because you should always have your people's back, no matter what religious sect you claim to be from. That's cool, but you should always be pro-black. You should always be on the side of advocating for black lives because they matter. And then like the Muslim community, y'all are totally wrong too, because I've never seen the Muslim community on the forefront of black issues, especially when there's such a similar dynamic for non-black POC Muslims and black Muslims and black people. Like, we have the same type of like cultural context, and yet you guys are never on the fucking forefront for any of our issues. And then you got the nerve to freaking say like, you know, come to this young man's funeral and whatever, but I don't see y'all, I didn't see y'all at none of the other, what about Sandra Bland, and what about Mike Brown and Philando Castile, like what about all these other people? I never see y'all retweeting and tweeting this stuff. But the moment the guy was found to be a Muslim, now it's cool, now it's okay. And a lot of times the Muslim community also, like when black people like have accolades and they're found to be like Muslim or whatever, all of a sudden the Muslim community comes out, yeah bro, he's Muslim, but we never see you otherwise. Don't have that same energy when we ain't doing, when we just regular people just living our lives, you know what I'm saying? Like black people that aren't Muslim, you know what I'm saying? Like, keep that same energy. We don't need y'all, because I don't want to say that I'm Muslim, but my whole thing is like, the thing is like, people don't understand the duplicitous nature of being like, you can be a Muslim and you can be black, and one doesn't have to supersede the other thing. They can live in equilibrium and it's cool, you know what I'm saying? And I'm talking to black people, like you can live in that equilibrium and be fine. For Muslims, it's like, you can care about black lives, and you can also care about Muslim black lives, and you can also care about Muslim lives, you know, that are non-black, POC, white, whatever, etc. So there's a lot of anti-black sentiment in the Muslim community that we really don't talk about because we don't talk about it. And there's a lot of anti-black sentiment towards black people, period, in the Muslim community that we don't talk about. And really, we need to talk about the statistics and the percentages of black Muslims versus everybody else, because statistically, like, there's more black Muslims in the United States, and we historically have been on the forefront of Muslim issues in history, period, point blank. The first masjid in the United States was like a black masjid, essentially. So like, people really need to like wake the fuck up in terms of like black lineage as it relates to Islam, because there is a lineage, there is a line, there is a nobility in Islam as it relates to black people. And the more that y'all push us to the back, no, keep your same energy, stay over there. We don't want to hear y'all. We don't want to talk. No, leave it. I'm not trying to hear it. I'm not trying to hear it. I'm not trying to hear it. Keep that same energy, fam. No, this is why, like, I tell black people to like have some type of cultural pride about yourself, because people are not going to advocate for you like you can advocate for you. And a lot of, like, I always tell my friends too, like, they're like, no, you know, like, you're Muslim first, and I get that, but it's like, no, we have to advocate for ourselves, because no, people aren't really looking out for us. So that's all I gotta say on that. Like, really check yourselves, check your pride, for real. Like, don't start like caping for people just because you found out they were Muslim. Don't start like saying that, don't start calling people's names before you know, black people before you know if they're Muslim or not, because like people were calling him kafir or whatever. Like, what the fuck, bro? What? Check your pride, please. Anyways, that's all I have to say. I'm out of here. I gotta go. Inshallah, you guys have a good day. People who are not Muslim, hopefully you have a good day, have a good whatever it's Easter today, so you know, I don't subscribe to Easter, but you know, like, have a good day. And I'm gonna be out of here. I'm gone. Get it together. Get it together. Get it together. Get it together or leave it alone. Okay? I'm out.